Place your bets now, because we've got a 1v1 that's full of reversals and seems like a coin flip until the last minute of the game. It's a 1 versus 1 between Therxyy in the red with an engineer commander and a jump bot factory, with moderator as their blueprint. Of course, a nice little skirm there. This is HJkia, someone we've seen quite a lot, of course, lately. In the blue, with cloak bots and a engineer commander, but just with a normal old glaive as the blueprint. So probably didn't really plan on using it. Maybe are going to still take a different blueprints at some point, but doesn't really seem like they will. No, well, yes, they are actually. The blueprint has already been queued up. Not sure what they're going to get though. So, what did you get? Reaver, alright. Sure. What is Reaver going to do for you? Of course, blueprint being the feature where engineer commanders can just place down a unit and build it on the spot. A little bit like an Athena or a Strider hub can. Getting slow units or units to take care of enemy-based defenses to the front lines quite quickly. At least that's what it's mostly used for. That's why often people pick some kind of skirm/utility unit to take care of enemy defenses. Taking care of a stinger, for instance. But in this case, HJkia with a Reaver, a riot. Some might be worried about getting overrun by enemy, well, raiders. Though they're not really going to get that in this game, since Therxyy is of course going jump bots, which don't have a classic raider. It's a raider riot in Pyro. Very expensive, decent speed, and of course with that very good afterburn. If you're lucky, you hit an enemy glaive and you immediately just take it down in the afterburn. Since it is theoretically a like 225 damage afterburn. In practice there is quite a large spread in how long the afterburn is actually, well, how long it works. So the damage as well. But in theory, at least, if you hit an enemy glaive, you're pretty much guaranteed to take it down. So of course, spread your glaives out, because you don't want the pierce through from the pyro to do anything against you either. And for now at least, 100% eco, attrition. So no real difference there. One major difference though. Tira, the commander for Therxyy, staying in their home base, expanding up north and down south with constables. No defenses. So yeah, that's 3 maxes that are likely going to go down. Constable does have some damage on itself, by itself, but not a whole lot. But still, might just barely be enough to chase away one single glaive. Normally, the main thing you like your constable weapon for is the slowdown, just so that your other units have an easier time engaging the enemy. But at least against that like very low HP glaive, the constable was enough to finish it off. Puppy's also a little bit of a weird unit. If it is able to get in range, it does trade well against glaive. I mean, it only costs you 45 metal, and you take down a 65 metal unit in a single shot. But since it's also very low HP, it is quite easy to have them get destroyed before they can get in range. Range difference isn't that large though. Not sure if we have a puppy left. Yeah, there we go. Range difference isn't all that large, so if the glaive doesn't immediately focus on your puppy, then yeah, puppy is able to get in range and destroy one glaive. First couple of reavers are now out. Imp as well. I don't really see an imp doing a whole lot. I mean, you're facing off against very spread out pyros and all that. But still, if you do manage to get an imp to connect to a pyro, you can clean it up for free and all of a sudden it's still a good trade. So even though you might only hit one unit, it is not bad. It isn't. Location is just a little bit weird. At least it is barely in range of the Lotus. And the commander for Therxyy is now also moving forwards. For now, eco for Therxyy, a lot better. They have also been reclaiming, since there is a lot of reclaim on this map. Of course, with the fighting there is even more. But in the corners there is like 300 each side, something like that. And of course with the geothermals there as well. It's pretty convenient to just reclaim a bunch, and then by the time it's all been reclaimed, just go into a geothermal for the efficient energy income. That makes it flow pretty nicely. Still, I do feel like Therxyy is maybe going a little heavy on the constables. And a little bit heavy on the placeholders as well. Ah, right. They removed them from queue. I mean, that makes sense. I was about to say, like, placeholders don't deal any damage. So, yeah, you might hold them in place, the enemy, but you're not really going to do anything. Once again, no defenses here. So, constable will get cleaned up, assuming the glaive engages. And 3 more maxes are going to go down. That better eco for Therxyy that we were talking about, yeah, that will not be there soon. If those maxes do go down. Glaive, of course, also outrunning Constable. Constable, being a constructor, is not really that easy to just say, okay, I put you on attack move and you engage the enemy. Because it would automatically start reclaiming, repairing, things like that. Down south, double Reaver, very difficult to engage with your pyros. Just because, well, they deal a lot of damage, they outrange you. And the other spectators were also talking about, well, yeah, HJkia as being very passive. They are, but this is not what they should be engaging with those glaives. Not sure what the... bit of a radar shadow there, but other than that, they know at least most of the map. HJkia also, no pressure, but hasn't gotten this max, not that max, not these, not those. So, yeah, missing a lot of maxes. So Therxyy's eco is actually just straight up better. On this map, of course, also why you would, well, often see people build more solos in their home base. The base maxes are 3.5 metal, so almost double the income that a normal max is, normal max being 2.0. So overdriving those is very efficient. So especially if you manage to link the geothermal up, which, well, slowly but surely Therxyy is doing, then that is going to be very nice. But indeed, yeah, glaive being very passive. I mean, max here could have easily been sniped already. This though is an issue because that geothermal, nice to get it up, has not paid for itself yet. And it is soon going down. Unless you've got a pylon, and that is why sometimes building pylons is very meta. Because suddenly you destroy 10 glaives with a pylon. And the geothermal stays up. I was like, well, maybe the geothermal can pay for itself by taking down all of the glaives in the explosion, but no, the pylon already did it for you. Yeah, I know why people sometimes complain about how effective pylons are at destroying raiders. I know, I can understand that. But yeah, geothermal stays up, very nice there for Therxyy, otherwise they would have lost another 500 metal worth of eco. Would have reduced that overdrive by quite a bit. And on the other side, HJkia also upgrading theirs, so will be insanely efficient. And by the time it is up, yeah, all of those maxes will be linked together. So it's not going to be wasted. It will be used quite efficiently. Yeah. Phoenix coming up. Well, have already been up. We have already had a hacksaw snipe one on the other side. But yeah, not really destroying the things that are immediately in your base. Not sniping the Reaver. That is very effective against your glaives. But rather bombing pyros, which are immune to afterburn. A bit of a weird choice there. It really is. But still, couple of Reavers, couple of Pyros now being pushed back. Not really able to hold on to those enemy knights and all that. And down south, yeah, 2 Reavers, no other units there. So it's relatively easy to counter. Just build a couple of Ronins, build a couple of knights, something like that, and you can easily snipe both of them. Geothermal for Therxyy still not being upgraded. Going to be linking up the energy grid first. Using the, well, stronger but less efficient pylons to do so, rather than using wind generators like HJkia is. But of course those are very easy to snipe, so yeah, all of a sudden it's not all linked together. Yep, down south. This was what I was thinking of. Right. Jack, is it going to stay up or is it not? Is it going to snipe the commander? I mean, both are going down, but that's definitely a good trade there for Therxyy. Just by itself, already destroying 4 metal income, giving you quite a lot more reclaim, because that should all be for them. And of course, just destroying the enemy commander makes it a lot safer for you to push in there with a couple of glaives, something like that. Because you can actually just move around the top. Stinger will snipe one of your glaives and then you can just get into the enemy eco. And there they come. Yeah, a couple more glaives. Not ideal. I mean, you're facing off against double Reaver over here. 4 Reavers actually. Quadruple Reaver. Pretty much no number of glaives is going to beat that. So with the slings there, taking down the pork. Yeah, that position is effectively just lost already. Just going to be a matter of time before you actually lose control and Therxyy will get it. Well, we'll get up all of the reclaim and we'll also get those maxes. Still, on the other side, glaives are moving in. Watch out with the energy pylon this time. You don't want to explode all your glaives again. I mean, you would lose over 1,000 value. Which is also normally enough to snipe a commander. Not all of them engaging at the same time though. But it will still go down. There it goes. Losing just 3 glaives in the process. Not that bad. Still, now you are outnumbered, but you are at least engaging with more of your glaives. So the fight over here is still not that bad for HJkia. Also had a slight high ground advantage. So should have been able to engage those glaives pretty effectively. Well, especially if you consider the fact they were outnumbered like 2 to 1. Advanced geothermal is up, but really that should be linked. And it seems like they are indeed doing that for now. Or just getting to it. Phoenix, bombing, single loaders, not the most effective. But of course getting in here is a lot more difficult. Knights would just stun the Phoenix. And Reavers with good DPS are likely going to snipe yours as well. So if you don't want to lose your Phoenix, it was very difficult to do that up north. Still, the Pyros sneaking through. Can't really be taken down by Phoenix all that easily. And being raided riots. Yeah, a couple of glaives, especially if they are clumped up. Not going to fare all that well against them. Over here though, Knights are once again pushing. What do they have in response? Raiders, but yeah, Knight is a bit of a weird assault. Instantly hits of course, so unless you have unless you outnumber the Knights by quite a lot, even a couple of glaives are not going to be that effective. Ronins also normally, well, skirm counters assault. Pretty effective to wear them down, but you will be pushed back, normally. And Pyro, I mean, it does a lot of damage. And oh, Phoenix. Well, goodbye Metal Extractor. Also, goodbye Overdrive grid for the northern section. That's 4 maxes that are once again out of the grid. So that's what's nice about, well, using pylons. They're 1000 HP each, so they're a lot more difficult to destroy. Whereas wind generators, yeah, 150 HP, yeah, that is so easy to destroy that one pyro can just take offline your entire overdrive grid. Therxyy still not upgrading their geothermal though. So it doesn't really take advantage of the increased efficiency by doing so. But has got up a fusion, so still has a pretty decent overdrive, but look, 130 versus 39. HJkia is still investing a lot more into overdrive, and if or when they link those maxes back up and build that big max back, that overdrive will not be 20, but likely like 30 or like 35. So HJkia should still be way ahead in terms of their eco. Maxes down south, not being constructed by either team, but with all of those units there right now, HJkia should be able to build them back up. But of course a lone max that is relatively far out in the open isn't the most worth it, compared to of course one that is linked up to the overdrive grid. But still, getting more maxes is always good. The issue is just holding the position. The Phoenix, the Phoenix, without ammo, so doesn't really do anything there. Alright. Still though, very nice bombing area here. I mean, they are relatively well spread out, but still, good number of Ronins that you could be bombing. But you are rather bombing the assaults. High HP, single target. Not really what Phoenix is designed for, but hey. And also, yeah, this is what I mean with, like, you really need to outnumber knights with your glaives if you want to take them down. And oh, that hurts. Oh, running back and forth through the fire. Well, you're not losing all of them, so now just keep them out of combat for like 5 seconds. And it will, well, pretty much have done no damage to you. But yeah, Firewalker, the other area suppression fire Phoenix and Firewalker. Firewalker, of course, a lot more sustained because it doesn't have to go back home to rearm. A lot longer range, so easier to keep alive. And still very effective against squishy units like Ronins, Glaives, even Reaver. 800 HP, sure, but it is also slow. Uncovers Gremlins quite easily. Only 550 HP on those, so also easy to take down. So if you look at this position, well, 30 eco from HJkia. That's not a lot. I mean, wind is at 0%, so only 130 energy, and indeed they do give up. Something that definitely kept Therxyy in the game is their reclaim. 5,000 more reclaimed than the enemy. So even though the overdrive from HJkia with that advanced geothermal was so much better, over 5,000 metal better, Therxyy still able to keep up in total.